The Lord be with you. I'm Deacon Keith Fournier, and our first reading is taken from the first book of Kings. One day when Jeroboam had gone out of Jerusalem, the prophet Ahijah of Shiloh accosted him on the road. Ahijah was wearing a new cloak. The two of them were in the open country by themselves. Ahijah took the new cloak which he was wearing and tore it into 12 strips, saying to Jeroboam, "Take 10 strips for yourself. For Yahweh, the God of Israel, says this to you. I am going to tear the kingdom from Solomon's hand and give 10 tribes to you. He will keep 1 tribe for the sake of my servant David and for the sake of Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel. And Israel has remained in rebellion against the house of David from that day to this." And our response is taken from Psalm 81. I, Yahweh, am your God, who brought you here from Egypt. You have only to open your mouth for me to fill it. My people would not listen to me. Israel would have none of me. So I left them to their stubborn selves to follow their own devices. If only my people would listen to me. If only Israel would walk in my ways. At one stroke I would subdue their enemies, turn my hand against their opponents. Those who hate Yahweh would woo his favor, though their doom was sealed forever. And a reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Mark. Returning from the territory of Tyre, Jesus went by way of Sidon toward the Lake of Galilee, right through the Decapolis territory. And they brought him a deaf man who had an impediment in his speech. And they asked him to lay his hands on him. He took him aside to be by themselves, away from the crowd, put his fingers into the man's ears, and touched his tongue with spittle. Then looking up to heaven, he sighed, and he said to him, "Ephphatha," that is, "be opened." And his ears were opened. And at once the impediment of his tongue was loosened, and he spoke clearly. And Jesus ordered them to tell no one about it. But the more he insisted, the more widely they proclaimed it. Their admiration was unbounded, and they said, "Everything he does is good. He makes the deaf hear, and the dumb speak." The Gospel of the Lord.